Hello everyone and welcome to Silverstone for another round of GPVWC Formula Sprint 1 in 2022. There you see the circuit on your screen, and what a fantastic one this is for sim racing. Some great racing here every single year as the cars go side by side. It's fast, it's flowing, and it's really up to date, high tech. It's one of the best circuits in the world in my opinion. We're currently a few minutes into qualifying. This is round 8 of the championship. Tom Stevens currently top of the times, and the car that you're looking at right now is the Nova car, although you might not recognize it as it's running in a very Jordan-esque livery. You may remember last year when the Nova team did a Williams throwback livery, where they had Craig Patterson, of course, a big Williams fan. This year, of course, they have Owen McGorgy, who will be driving using a Damon Hill-inspired helmet, and also the other car also has a Jordan livery. I'm just trying to find that one. That is Craig Patterson, and he is racing using a Martin Brundle-inspired helmet. Before I get a little too carried away, Ross. I am being joined by Ross, as always. That is Ross McIntyre. And yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Caitlin. A little bit too warm for my liking, but you know, that's summer in England for you. And please get inspired away by the one-off livery. I'm a big fan of Jordan liveries myself on the classic F1 cars, and they look great on these FS1 cars. As you said, hello and welcome to Silverstone here for the FS1 races in GPVWC. We're looking forward to a very exciting event. Just heading out for the qualifying now. 8 minutes left on the clock, of course, as always this season. The private qualifying sessions currently following Kasper Michalak. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. Should be a great pair of races to look forward to.
And I got the helmets the wrong way around. Owen McGorgy is racing using the Martin Brundle livery, and then Craig himself will be racing using the Damon Hill livery. There is Kasper Michalak in the Smile Power Racing car, and he stepped in rather last minute for that team, so great to see Kasper Michalak and his teammate as well, Luca Gray, also stepping in very last minute. Luca Gray moving up from the Formula Sprint 2 championship for this round. We have unfortunately lost a team. E-Team Brit have pulled out of this championship since the last round, meaning that there is now a slot open. So if you do have a sim racing team who you think are attempting to get into to GPVWC or would like to get into GPVWC, then now is a good time to pitch that to them, because they may be able to join midway through the season and get some experience before their first full season campaign starting from next year. We're on board with Owen McGorky now, setting a purple first sector there, going very, very quickly. Decent second sector as well. I'm just getting up my race view to see exactly where it is, but if you look at the order on the left-hand side, he's got about 0.3 of a second to find if he's going to go up to pole. Stevens is there currently, followed by Dennehan, McGorgy, Hamming, and Watson, with still 7 minutes to go in the qualifying session. Let's see where this lap puts him. The timing line is the second line he'll pass, and it is still third, but he's closer to the... Oh, and Jason Muscat goes second, just misses out on provisional pole, Russ.
Yeah, it's a great lap there from Stevens as Muscat gets knocked down to second. Tom Stevens coming through. There you go, provisional pole. Ruben Machete as well up. So all very, very tight up the top, as we'd expect, again, very early in this qualifying session. Still lots of time to be set. Vincent Gutt coming now into the Vale chicane, or Club chicane as some people like to call it. A lot of people like to refer to this complex as Club All As One. Of course, this very nice and new version of Silverstone that we have available here in R Factor 2, all laser scanned in all of its Buckinghamshire glory. And a few drivers heading out the pits. There's Alexander Ragota as well, and never mind, he's pulling into the pits and he's had enough and he's gone back to pits. Of course, that is fine once you're in the pit lane to escape back to the pits, but if you're outside of the pit lane, that means you have retired from the session. You've set your last lap, so don't want to be doing that unless you're outside of the pit lane. Muscat, though, P2, great opening lap from him.
I like the way that you mentioned Buckinghamshire there, because there are two different counties that are technically, that this track is technically within the borders of, and both claim to be the home of British motor racing. If you look at the signs near Silverstone, it will say, welcome to Northamptonshire, we are the home of British motor racing. And then you go into Buckinghamshire and it says the same thing, but differently. I love it.
I believe it's, it was, because it's like that, I think it's officially where the start line is, where they define it, and it was in Northamptonshire while they used the old start line, as we're seeing here, coming out of the tops. Yeah, but because the start line moved over to where it is nowadays, over near Abbey, that's now in Buckinghamshire, so it's now officially classed as Buckinghamshire, I think. So it's actually changed location, technically, which, you know, bit of a nerd stat for you there, but...
That's brilliant. I love that kind of county feud there. That's fantastic stuff. Tom Stevens, as we saw, did improve his flying lap. Not by much. Muscat is still within a 10th of a second of him, as Craig Patton goes up to 16th place there. Stevens still leading this session. There's Remco de Joux. Now, in terms of the championship, Owen McGorky is going to be one to look out for. He is currently leading the standings by 8 points over Tom Stevens. So the Jordan livery with that's the one with Martin Brundle's helmet is the one you should be looking out for today as our championship leader. And then Tom Stevens, of course, second place, another British driver, two of them doing battle at their home circuit. Jake Dennehan, third in the championship currently, fourth in the session. Moritz Kropp is fourth in the session, and I don't see him in the order, so I'll get back to that in a little bit. But anyway, Frank Hamming, fifth in the championship. We'll see look out for Amari Watson, Mike Quint, Alexander Ragosa, Darius Andre, and Jason Muscat. Now, is Moritz Kropp actually here? I don't believe that he is. So, replaced by Ruben Machete, yeah. So Moritz, who was here at the last round but didn't have a great weekend, has been replaced by Ruben Machete, who was also here at the last meeting and had an amazing weekend. that's an interesting one, because Reuven, of course, only has this round and then another before he has to stop racing in Formula Sprint 1 for the year, or stop racing in Formula Sprint 2, but that's less likely since he's fighting for the championship there. And it's a bit of a shame to see Moritz Krop not here, because he is one of the drivers who can really fight for victories, Ross.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very tight. Oh, as we get an ooh from Caitlin there.
Jake Dennehan, moving up to second, beating Muscat by 0.005 of a second, and only just missing out to Tom Stevens. Very close in the late stages of qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. The track now coming up to its maximum grip levels in this qualifying session. Just over 2.5 minutes left to go. Drivers boxing in for the last set of rubber that they can get on for the go up for the final attack. Oh, McGorgy, purple sector 1 by 0.005 of a second. Again, the top three covered by, you're looking at 700ths there. As always, super, super close here in GPVWC and in Formula Sprint 1. You mentioned, race winners. I was saying lots of race winners, lots of really, really strong, quality drivers on this grid. And of course, it's the third tier as well of GPVWC, which not only speaks volumes about this championship, but it speaks volumes about GPVWC as an organisation as well, which is great to see. And if you'll allow me to do my sales pitch, unfortunately we've lost E-Team Brit from the championship. They've decided to withdraw. So if you want to come and join in and be up the front of the grid, there's a space available for 2 more drivers. So why don't you head along? 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock, Caitlin. Yeah. It's crunch time.
Watch your Machete here. He's on a good lap. Machete through the final couple of corners of this lap. I don't think it's... Oh, he's lost it. So Reuven loses that lap and goes into the gravel, and he will not get another chance because he has no time to get back to the pits. And I mean, theoretically, he could start another lap from there, but he'll have ruined his tyres and he'll have scuppered his run up to the line as well. So there really is no more chance that Machete's going to be going any faster. Machete will not be on the front row of the grid today. Stavros Musaidis is improving for Valley Esports, although he's a little way down in the first sector, about half a second down on what Jake Dennehan did when he set his second place lap. Musaidis goes 8th, so there is an improvement there, and we're into the last minute of standard time. Once that timer ticks to 0, everyone who is then on a flying lap will be able to finish that lap, but there will be no new laps available to be started. Here's Tom Stevens. I'm not sure this really is a push lap. Only 2,000s down in the first sector, so it could still be a push lap, but not going to be a massive improvement at this rate. Through Copse he goes. The extremely fast, extremely difficult corner where following the car in front of you becomes an absolute nightmare. Maggots and Beckett, and then Chapel, very bumpy through there. You activate DRS while you're still turning, so you need to make sure you have a good grip at the wheel. And his second sector time was very good. It's a purple because it's faster than his own best time. It's not technically a true purple. I believe the fastest second sector of anyone is held by Jake Dennehan currently. Into the left-hander at Vale, the right-hander at Club, and then he will shoot through to finish the lap as Zibinski goes 11th, and there is going to be an improvement here from Tom Stevens. He goes into the 135, so Tom Stevens with the fastest lap of the day into the 135s, and I'm not sure anyone can beat that. McGorgy is close in the first sector. He's only a couple of hundredths of a second off. But he's going to have to really push now, Ross.
He is indeed really wide coming out of Copse. And that will be that lap done. So unless Muscat can produce a lap of the gods, it will be Stevens on the pole position. Where is Jason Muscat? He's down 1.5 in the first sector coming through Copse now. He manages to stay within the white lines. Of course, you don't want to be running out there. That curve, that big curve that they've added in there nowadays really upsets the car as well. You lose a lot of time coming through Maggots, Beckett's now Chapel, late apex. You want to run out really wide onto the curb, bring it in, DRS wide open, down the back straight, down as well. He's going to need a spectacular final sector if he wants to be moving up from his current P3. Coming through Stowe corner now, downshift, turn it in, pray the car sticks, use that aerodynamics to bring it around. Relatively tight corner, it's more tight than you think, but the exit is more wide open. You think, bang on the brakes for Vale, bring it in, don't touch that inside sausage curb, don't touch the sausage curb there either. Round the final corner, through Club, to the line. Is it going to be any faster? I don't think it is going to be, no. It's a better final sector, but Muscat remains in third, so it will be Tom Stevens on pole position with a fantastic lap, a 10th and a half up on the second place driver. Brilliant lap there from Stevens.
Fantastic stuff. Tom Stevens takes pole and in his home race, and he will be followed by Jake Dennehan there in second place. Jason Muscat in third, the veteran driver challenging the youngsters up in front of him. Ruben Machete alongside him, again doing a wonderful job there in the Nocturne car, substituting for Moritz Kropp. Owen McGorky is P5, then it's Amari Watson, Frank Hamming, Stavros Muzeidis, Maciej Heiler, and Menno Klont. Owen McGorky there, 5th place, our championship leader. 11th is Mateusz Jabinski. Then we have Alex Laho, also stepping up from FS2. Vincent Gutt, Alessandro Valente, Sandro Van Sand, Alexander Ragosa, Craig Patterson, Philip Koenig, Ada Erkan, Remco de Gier. And then it's Luca Gray, Mike Bell, Casper Michalak, and Darius Andre, who did not set a flying lap. However, with 24 cars here, that is technically a full house. Obviously, we have had more cars at other rounds of this championship, although with a maximum of 26 and then one team officially pulling out, 24 is the maximum number of cars that we were going to get here today. No, sorry, I'm confusing this with a different championship, aren't I? Because there were actually 15 teams at the start of the series and there's now 14, so we are missing 4 cars still. But anyway, still a decently sized grid, and it's going to give us some good racing here at Silverstone if qualifying's anything to go by, because once again, a rather close top few cars, Russ.
Absolutely super close, and of course a pair of races to look forward to as well as we reach the halfway point of the championship already. I mean, this year's just flown by, hasn't it? 26 laps to look forward to in race 1. 17 laps reverse grid race 2, and of course it's Silverstone. You know, it's one of the classic tracks. It's one where everybody wants to win. I mean, in my opinion, the run from Luffield down to Stowe is just the best piece of racetrack in the world. It is so brilliant. The drivers will absolutely love it, and you know, I'm really excited to see, you know, what we're going to see. I mean, Tom Stevens, that was a very dominant pole position by GPV standards. So looking very pacey there, but, you know, does he have it in the race? Of course, Silverstone is also a track where tyre wear is absolutely key. And you've just got to run your strategy so perfectly and just, you know, pray you get lucky, because sometimes it just doesn't go your way around here. And there's lots of little tips and tricks. As you see Darius Andre pulling overtakes off the circuit. Of course, this is the warm-up session. This is where the rulebook, we kind of put it to the side for a session. You know, it's kind of an anything goes. Just make sure everything's working. Have a little bit of fun for 10 minutes before the race. But there's, you know, there's so many tips and tricks to learn around here. And of course, this version of Silverstone as well on R-Factor 2, it's the most up-to-date version of Silverstone that we have in sim racing. All laser scanned, all the right, you know, curbs in the right places. Menno Klont running a bit wide there. So, you know, it's as close to real life as you're going to get. And you know, there's so many different things. It's a very bumpy circuit as well, Silverstone, especially kind of through the middle sector, coming into, you know, places like Luffield and Brooklands as well, where you don't want to take too much curb and unsettle the car on your way into the long right-hander. So it's a circuit. It's a lot of fun, easy to learn, but very difficult to master. And again, running a race here, very easy to, you know, just get it wrong somehow. I mean, it's such a quick track as well. You know, the car can just snap on you if you get it wrong. So you really got to be absolutely on it, and, you know, really got to make sure that everything is working fine. We've got 8 minutes left in this one. We see the Malta Force guys just following each other in tandem there, having a bit of fun, you know, coming through the first turn now. Abbey, of course, the new first turn since 2011 on the Grand Prix layout. Some, well, it's officially the Grand Prix layout, but some series do still use the old pit lane that is still there. You know, a lot of motorbike series still go and use the old pit lane. Here in GPVWC, of course, this is a professional championship. We're off using the new pit complex and all the newfangled start line. So lots to enjoy. And as well, what's going to be crucial is coming into the loop, coming into turn 3 on lap 1. You know, you've got 24 cars barreling, and, you know, turn 1, turn 2 on the first lap pretty much flat, especially if you're up the front. And then turn 3 is something very heavy braking zone into a very slow section. When you consider the single monitor, you know, kind of setups that a lot of these drivers will be using, it's quite hard to see what's around you. So could potential for a few wheel bumps here and there, so I have to see. But that is, you know, where you make your money around this circuit. Coming through here as we see Owen McGorgy. This is what I'm talking about. Turn 3, hard on the brakes. lots of lines through this corner as well. You can run out really wide. You can take a really late apex to get a good exit, or a good entry even, into turn 4, the loop. And then, if you get the loop wrong as well, it ruins you the entire way down this straight. And with DRS as well, it's going to be crucial you get out there well. So, lots of factors to think about here at Silverstone. But again, still got under 7 minutes left of this warm-up session. The drivers at this point, just making sure everything's working fine. Tyres are okay. Setup at home is okay. Last few checks with the engineer and the teams over race strategies. And just making sure that everyone's comfortable for the pair of races we have tonight.
Just saw the two TCS off drivers collide in the pit lane and then almost do it again immediately afterwards. That was rather funny. Good to get it out of the way now rather than in the actual races. Of course, we are going to have a pit stop later on today. There's McGorky again in that wonderful one-off Jordan livery. And yeah, like you were saying, Ross, Silverstone is a fantastic circuit. I know I'm probably biased because it's one of my local tracks, but having been here several times, it's the spectating opportunities you get here are fantastic. You can see way more of the circuit from any given point than you expect that you'll be able to. The facilities are absolutely brilliant. It's so unique to drive. It's so fast and flowing, and there are corners here that you just don't get anything like anywhere else. I was there just 4 days ago, actually, overlooking the circuit from a balcony at the Silverstone UTC, and oh my goodness, what a sight, seeing several buzzy little caterhams going into cops 3 wide every single lap. Yeah, it truly is a spectacular place to watch some motor racing, and for sim racing too, never fails to disappoint. I know I like to hype up every single circuit going into a round of GPVWC and say, oh, this is going to be such a good round because of this and this or that and that, and truly though, Silverstone is exceptional in so many different ways.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many things you can say about this circuit. It is, a fan favorite, a driver favorite, commentary favorite as well, clearly. One of my favorite things about Silverstone, actually, if you stand on top of the new pit complex, well, we say it's new, it's about 10 years old now, but, the new pit complex, and you look down towards Stowe, faster, race cars, obviously you won't get this in sim, unfortunately, they're not quite that realistic, but, looking at F1, F2 cars, kind of hypercars over in World Endurance Championship as well. As they come around through Stowe, they're so fast through that corner that you can't actually hear the rumble strip sound until they reach the Vale chicane because they're outrunning the speed. It's it's such a crazy fact. The first time I was there, it just blew my mind because obviously it shows the scale of the circuit. It's a long circuit. Looking at nearly 6 kilometers around here. But it just shows how fast modern day motorsports is as well. And, unfortunately, you won't quite get that much detail in sim racing. I don't think, that the very physics of sound traveling through the air is really the top priority of game developers. But it just shows the magic of this circuit. With just under 4 minutes left to go. Frank Hamming, meanwhile, P2, looking pretty pacey. Maybe he'll be looking to work his way forward during the race. Of course, 2 races to look forward to tonight here at GPVWC. If you're new to Formula Sprint 1, the 3rd tier that we have here in GPV, you get a 29-lap feature race, and then I believe it's a 17-lap sprint race with a reverse grid, and the position for a reverse grid pulled out of a hat, so we don't know who's going to be on pole for race 2, even after the results of race 1. We just have to wait and see what's going to happen. And, well, pretty clean lap here from Hamming. He's looking pretty pacey. So, again, another thing about Silverstone as well, it is a circuit where setup is so crucial, and you do need to decide, early on into your testing, are you going to set up the car for qualifying all the race? Because, some tracks, you can get away with running one setup, for both sessions. Not here. You set the car up to go fast over one lap, or you set the car up to go fast over a distance, and that is how it is. So, what drivers have done what? I mean, Tom Stevens, a big pole position. Yes, he might be supremely fast around the circuit, but it could also be, come the races, he might not quite be, possessing that much pace. So, could be going backwards potentially. We'll have to see. But, driver of Tom Stevens' caliber, well, he might be able to pull something magical out of the bag if he has set the car up for qualifying. It's just, I know we're waxing lyrical. I mean, there's probably a bit of a local bias here from myself and Caitlin, but it is just a brilliant circuit. Every piece of racing, sim racing and real racing, is just fantastic around. You look at, as we see here, Tom Stevens coming through, Maggins and Beckett's what a section of corners that is. You know, in a modern day race car, even in these FS1 cars, you know, you're flat until you get to the third turn, and then Chappell's basically bang down the gears into about fifth or fourth, sweep it in, back on the throttle again, and then stow again, one gear down, turn it in, and it just sticks. It is all about the aero. It is all about how much momentum you can carry through the corners, and it is so, so wonderful.
I like this comment in the YouTube from Josh Downard. Owen is a fake Brit. He hates Silverstone. Oh my gosh, that is drama.
I'm cancelling Owen on Twitter now. Of course, you can go and follow the GPVWC Twitter at GPVWC and follow all of the what's going on. I'm not sure if we're running a live feed for this race. We may not, but of course we will be following for races in the future, potentially the Super League race that'll be coming up in a week's time. And of course, on the subject of following, of course, if you haven't already, make sure you do subscribe and like the streams. It really is appreciated by everyone here at GPVWC. If you fancy getting involved as well, again, we do have an open grid spot on this FS1 field now for a team. You know, you can go over to the GPVWC website now at gpvwc.com, find out more there, join the Discord server where everything is done really through there, and you can, you know, come and join in the fun. You know, it's a really nice community. Everyone is very fun, and of course, 5 tiers of, you know, high quality single seater action, and, you know, a real sense of progression up as well. You know, this is the budding sim racer's place to be, and it's also where legends are made, and this is the best of the best in R Factor 2. This is the best of the best in single seater sim racer racing. So, you know, it is a brilliant series, and I highly encourage you to come and get yourself involved. And well, even if you just fancy watching and just becoming involved, you can do it anyway, because everyone is super nice, and we do love fans, don't we? So yeah, make sure you come and get involved. Mike Bell running P21 at the moment. 20 seconds left in this warm-up session, and then we'll be getting ready for the 5 red lights that we all know, we all love. Getting ready for the first of our 2 races this evening. Pretty muggy out there at Silverstone. Obviously, grey skies as per normal, but 20 degrees air temperature. Track temperature, not quite sure, but I'm going to assume a lot higher. And yeah, just not the nicest conditions to be racing. And as the checkered flag comes out, of course, you know, the physical factor won't you know, account, because obviously the drivers, many of them have fans, your air conditioning, etc. There's no rain predicted as well, but just the hell on earth that this track becomes to the tyres when the temperature is up. It's really going to be a struggle, especially over this longer race 1. But, you know, race 2 as well, a lot of drivers prefer not to stop. Obviously, pit stop's mandatory in race 1, but not in race 2. You can run that on just one set of tyres. So that's really when, you know, who takes the gamble and goes on the softer set, who goes on the softer compound, and can they make it to the end?
Indeed. I've just seen a couple of minutes ago, the 2 TC soft cars came together again. Those 2 not making friends with each other out there today, although, of course, this is still only warm-up. Yeah, watch out for those 2. They are starting at exactly opposite ends of the grid today. But if they find themselves together on track, maybe in race 2, then there could be some fireworks. 2 very evenly matched drivers there as well. Okie dokie, so the checkered flag is now out for this warm-up session. And my efforts to find out why Darius Andre is starting from the back of the grid have been slightly in vain. Back of the grid penalties, so yeah, but I don't see that on the disciplinary page, so I don't know where that's come from. Because he was at the Monaco round, but I don't see any penalties from that one. So yeah, a little confused by that, but anyway. Whatever the case, he is starting from the back of the grid, P24, out of the 24 drivers who will be racing today. There were a couple of other penalties after the last round. A couple of drivers with 30-second time penalties and the like. And Silver Joffert unfortunately exceeded the maximum number of penalty points you are allowed to pick up, so he will be missing this round as a result. Right, the Formula Sprint 1, race 1. Sorry, what was that? Okay, so apparently Darius Andre got his penalty in Azerbaijan. Oh yeah, he wasn't at Monaco, was he? Azerbaijan was the last round he did. Oh, that's why. I was looking at the wrong thing. Because I knew he'd missed the last round. But yeah, I didn't see that. Yeah, so he has that hanging over from when he escaped to the pits and then returned to the track in Azerbaijan qualifying. Let's take a look at the grid now, if we can, please, Szymon. There you see Tom Stevens nicely supporting the rainbow flag on the back of his car. Jake Dennehan in second place, Jason Muscat in third place, and then Ruben Machete in fourth. Fifth place will be the Jordan liveried Nova of Owen McGorgy. Then we have Amari Watson, Frank Hamming, and Stavros Musadis. Stavros a real dark horse in this competition now. Maciej Hyla, P9, Menno Klont, P10, Mateusz Szybinski, P11, and then it's Alex Lahout. P13 will be Vincent Gutt, followed by Alessandro Valente, Sandro Van Sand, and Alexander Ragosa. Just 2 pages to go now. Oh, we've gained a 25th driver in there somewhere. We'll have to keep an eye out for who that might be. Damien Kardash, P17, Craig Patterson, P18, then Philip Koenig and Arda Erkan. And here come the rest of the grid. Remco de Gier, Luca Gray, Mike Bell, and Casper Miklas. I presume one of these drivers was missing at the end of qualifying, which is why they weren't showing up on a time board. Darius Andre will have to line up 25th and all on his own on the last panel of the starting order. 25 cars will line up to start this race for us, and it will be 26 laps. So, gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Most of the drivers opting to start this race on the soft tyres. A few drivers on the hards here and there. So that's interesting to see. So majority of the grid opting for an early stop and then running the hards to the end, I assume. Maybe someone maybe willing to pull off a two-stopper, who knows? We'll have to see. Tom Stevens, does he have the pace to extend the gap out the front? He was pretty dominant in the qualifying. Does he have it in the race as well? Can he bridge the gap to McGorgy in the championship as well? And Gorgie, of course, currently leading the championship by 8 points, but only qualifying in P5. Stevens is a close second to him. So those two, they're the ones to watch. But it is Tom Stevens rounding the final complex now. As the tension goes through, who is going to be victorious in race 1? Will it be Stevens? Will there be chaos in Sloop? Who knows? As they come around to form up the grid now, and we await the 5 red lights.
Indeed. Here we go then. Tom Stevens and Jake Dennehan lining up side by side. 2 very young drivers, but 2 very talented drivers. And look at the body language of Dennehan's car there. He's facing all the way across. He wants to cover off Tom Stevens and get to that racing line as quickly as he possibly can. Turn 1 is completely flat out. Sometimes not on the first lap because you're a little boxed in and you've got the turbulent air of the car in front of you. So watch to see if everyone behind gets that right and judges it well. The last few cars are now in position on the grid, so we await the lights, which come on now. And when they go out, we will be underway for 26 laps of racing. Go! Away we go! And Tom Stevens immediately gets the lead. Can Muscat get alongside Dennehan? No, he has to back out of that. So Dennehan will be second into turn 1. The rest of the pack streaming through now. Looks to be a clean first corner, but we have the first braking zone coming up now into the loop, and there's a little touch further back, and around go the 2 Smile power cars of Luke Gray and Casper Mikulak, and it looked to be contact between the 2 of them. Now for the lead, Jake Dennehan is going for it. He's going to slipstream his way to the outside. He pulls out now, and into Brooklands, they're going to be going at it just as Verstappen and Hamilton did in the Grand Prix last year. He's got the inside for Lovefield. Jake Dennehan, with a very good move, has got his car exactly where he needs it, and he's through, and he's still on the inside for Woodcote, and he gets in front, and now Tom Stevens comes back at him to the inside, and he backs out very wisely so, very wisely so. Didn't want to draw any parallels to the Grand Prix with that one.
Brilliant from Dennehan there as they come through. Maggots and Beckett's for the first time. A little bit of banging wheels here and there, but overall pretty clean on this open lap. And Dennehan, that was absolutely brilliant. Dragging it all the way around the outside of Brooklands. We see Kardash there managing to squeeze ahead of Patterson as well, who's gone backwards on this opening lap. But yeah, Dennehan, that was brilliant. And now Tom Stevens on the attack from Muscat. Oh, Muscat touching the grass in the braking zone. Manages to keep it pointing in a straight line. That's Mercedes, I believe, getting overtaken by Amari Watson there. And behind him as well, that's Meadow Clomp looking to the outside into Vale, but to the outside, that's not where you want to be there to make the overtake. So he's going to have to stay there in P9 for the time being. Dennehan leads the opening lap of race 1 with a brilliant move. Can stop Tom Stevens' fight back. He's under massive pressure from Muscat. Oh, McGorgy managed to get up into P4 as well, so he's moving forward. That's great for his championship hopes. Of course, this is the halfway point in the season. Some moves further back as well. That's Medocon diving up the inside of Mercedes, almost touching. Can he hold around the outside through the loop? I don't think he will be able to. No, he is. No, not quite, but he'll get a big run out of there. Of course, no DRS just yet, but look how close he is with the slipstream, with the momentum. Mercedes pulling to the inside. Clomp there as well. So Clomp under the braking, almost 3 wide behind as well. No, Mercedes is going to try and squeeze on the outside. Ragota touching there with Hyler, manages to get through. Great move by Ragota. Look how close they are in front though. Oh no, oh no.
Yeah, so spinning, but he's been cleaned up by a couple of cars. One of the Smile Powers again involved, and Mike Bell in the PB, and that's Luca Gray, the Smile Power car that was involved. Here's a replay. He was battling hard with that Gallery 82 car, Alexander Ragosa, and he's just going to lose it there. He's losing it for a long way. And then Mike Bell with nowhere to go as he comes through. Oh, a couple of other cars getting involved as well. I think we had another lost wing. Was that the other PP racing car? Yes, Remco de Joux now has no front wing, as does Alessandro Valente. So it was an even bigger accident than it first looked. Here's Frank Hamming now up into P6. Mateusz Jabinski is up into the top 10 now. The biggest gainer on the first lap was Darius Andre. No surprise there. Starting from the back, obviously having a lot more potential than he was able to show in qualifying, where he didn't go out of the pits. Maciej Heiler is unfortunately our first driver out of the race as a result of that one. And the order is Dennehan, Stevens, Muscat, McGorgy, and Machete after that fantastic move from Jake Dennehan.
Yeah, that was brilliant from Dennehan early. He's managed to pull a second gap as well, already outside of the DRS range of Tom Stevens. Stevens, though, now under attack from Muscat, so Stevens may be having to settle for second in this early phase of the race. Remember, all of these front runners on the soft tyres, so they'll be thinking, okay, first laps are now done, let's settle down, let's make sure these tyres can run a decent distance, maybe try and get the strategy. The other car is actually, it's more powerful than you'd expect here at Silverstone, especially in clear air, because, you know, if you're stuck behind a car, the dirty air is just so bad. But the undercut as well, equally powerful. You can go either way on the strategy in the battle. Muscat there coming through. Maggots. Now Beckett's the right-hander. A little bit of a lift and a shift down into 5, then touch on the brakes down into 4th. Let it run really wide out through Chapel. DRS wide open. Down the hanger straight. Going to be too far back to remove for a move into Stowe. That's a brave place to make an overtake anyway. These top 3. McGorgy sticking to the back of them, but maybe starting to break away potentially with Zadis as well. Following Amari Watson now, and still following Amari Watson rather in P8, the Valet Esports driver. He was looking close, but now trying to regain that momentum and look for a way past as they head into the Vale chicane. Very grey, but as we mentioned earlier, no rain expected during this evening, as Muscat their fastest lap of the race in P3. Stevens has also massively closed on Dennehan. I wonder if Dennehan's made a mistake coming through Vale and Club, because suddenly the second has become half a second in a few corners. So suddenly Tom Stevens, after a mistake, could be back in this fight, but he's not got the best exit coming out of the loop. And now Muscat very close behind as well. So this could be Muscat challenging with a good run. Will he look to the inside? Dennehan looks safe. Muscat, no, he elects to stay behind this time. Still just trying to let the race run its course yet. No point making risky overtakes just yet, but Muscat is looking very, very quick at the moment.
There's Jabinski on the back of Menno Klont, doing a good job. He started 11th in this race, so he's already made up a place, as has Menno Klont actually. And now they have to do battle with each other. Coming out towards Cops. This is where all the caterhams I saw the other day were slipstreaming each other to no end, but these cars get to the end of the straight slightly too fast for any of that, and then have to stick with the car in front of them through the difficult Cops, Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel section, and that was a bit of a twitch from Ziabinski, which is going to affect him onto the straight. DRS is available now, so he's going to lose out on some of the advantage that would otherwise have given him. There's Stavros Muzeidis as well on the back of Amari Watson. He also got the DRS. And the gap this lap is going to be about what it was last lap, about half a second for the lead, maybe 0.6, but as near as makes no difference. Vincent Gutt now trying to line up Damien Kardash for 13th, and points go down all the way to 15th place, so all of this matters. Ragosa on the inside of Alex Lahu. Oh, did they touch? Oh, I think they just got away with it. Sparks flew, but I think that was from the underside of the car rather than side-to-side contact. Ziebinski and Klont going at it once again on the outside. Mateusz Ziebinski almost forced onto the curbs and the grass. There's the AstroTurf. He gets shown at the outside line, but picks up the DRS and goes to the inside. There's going to be some slipstreaming in the background as well, but a very good move there from Mateusz Ziebinski to juke his way to the inside. Vincent Gutt off the road, rejoins in P15.
Just shows already, even early into the race, what happens if you get it slightly wrong, run slightly wide through the fast corners. It's a very unforgiving circuit here at Silverstone. And a big shame for Vincent Gutt there, losing a place or two in the process. Denahan's managed to start to break away again. Muscat still on the back of Stevens, but unable to quite make the gap up here at the moment in the Malta Force car. Even with the DRS, Stevens looking pretty quick in a straight line. He's still got the DRS as well, so that is benefiting him. McGorgy starting to fade away just a little bit from this lead battle after moving up to 4th on the opening lap. So championship leader could be losing out in this race, but of course reverse grid race to look forward to later on as well. There's not all doom and gloom, and it's still very, very close as well at this halfway point in the season. Rigota looking for a move to the inside of Klont, unable to make the gap appear into Vale. Rigota, another drive, has been very impressive over this for early course of the race. Lap 6 of 26, 20 left to go. And as the race begins to settle down, and looking at the timing screens, I'm wondering if Denahan's made another mistake, because suddenly Tom Stevens is 3 tenths behind. I don't think he has, you know, and Muscat's closed right up as well.
There's going to be a chance here.
This could be. I wonder if Denahan, as he goes massively defensive to break the toe immediately, I wonder if Denahan's struggling through Vale because he's losing time there, seemingly lap after lap, and he's leaving the door open a little bit as well for Tom Stevens, who couldn't quite get through, but he's all over the back of Denahan, who we know is a very, very quick driver. Of course, Stevens looking to try and gain the championship lead this weekend. Jason Muscat on board with a view for the battle of the lead as well, but Stevens didn't get the best exit out of Luffield, so won't be anything this time by. And well, it depends who gets a good exit out of here, really. And Cops and Maggots and Beckett's can really set you up for a move down the hanger straight as they come through the left and then the right and then the left again. Very wide through there from Stevens. He's taking that really aggressively. Bit of a wobble on the rear of the car as well. Again, very bumpy here at Silverstone. Very easy to get the car unsettled. But it seems for the time being still going to maintain positions. Denahan leading the way.
Indeed, look how close they are towards the end of the straight. It must be so frustrating when the corner arrives. So here's a turn you can make a move into. We've seen a couple for the lead here in real life over the years. Mansell on PK 1987, Hamilton on Kovalainen 2008, Ziebinski on Klont 2022. That's just changed. So Ziebinski, no, he'd already got past him, hadn't he? It looked as if they must have been back alongside each other into that corner there. Or no, sorry, it was a glitch because he ran slightly over the white line on the outside of Stowe, and it didn't quite know what to do with itself. Ragosa now taking a look at Klont on the inside, and they get away with it into the loop. Once again, there were and another change. And what's happened to Klont there? Sorry, not Klont. Someone else made a move. Oh, it's Mercedes alongside Watson down into Brooklands, and Watson is shown the door, but there's I thought he might have stuck his nose to the inside there, decides better of it. So through goes Stavros Mercedes. Good move, and Vincent Gutt has now... and Sandro Van Zandt goes for a spin after just being passed by Vincent Gutt.
Yeah, so spinning around there. So again, just showing how easy it is to get it wrong around here. I mean, it's just so easy to get it wrong. But, you know, that is the nature of Silverstone. And as they head through again, Tom Stevens dropped a little bit back again from Denahan, but actually no, he's got a really good exit coming out of the chapel, so a bit close, but still no move coming in. He does have a look to the inside into Stowe, but decides against it. They've got some lap traffic coming up as well already. Anyone diving into the pits this time by no. So tyres seem to be holding on for the time being. These drivers all pushing pretty hard. Ragota looking for a move there. Klont was slightly wide. Does he dive to the inside into Vale? He's certainly looking. Oh, he's getting very close. Almost contact between the pair of them, but unfortunately cannot make the gap appear. So Ragota having to settle for 11th for the time being. Lap 8 of 26, a third of the way through this feature race here in Formula Sprint 1. And it's been very exciting so far, and I'm just... I cannot wait for what's going to happen next. Ragota wants to make what happen next now as he looks to the inside, goes for a huge dive on Meadow Klont. Very clean move there, but Klont fights back. He's got the inside into the loop. Almost contact between the pair of them. Goodness me, how goes that? Klont gets very sideways. And again, wow, Ragota leaving nothing on the table. Super move there by the Gallery 82 driver. That was brilliant.
And again, the leaders were very close down into Brooklands that time. I was watching them closely, prepared to shout. There is Shao Kadash going for a spin, stuck his nose to the inside of Alex Laho, and it has not worked out, just as what happened to Sandro Van Sand a lap ago. Also, Philip Koenig and Mike Bell have both had big offs, completely separately. They didn't collide or anything. Koenig hit the wall, but he has continued in this race. Bell, ironically, didn't hit the wall, but did have to come into the pit lane. So Bell has stopped for some new tyres and is the first driver a lap down in this race now. Back to the front, we're on board with Tom Stevens as he's still stuck behind Jake Dennehan, still giving DRS to Muscat, Magorgi, Machete, etc. behind him. Here's Frank Hamming taking a look at Ruben Machete. I hadn't noticed that actually, but yes, Magorgi and Machete swapped off the line, didn't they? Because Magorgi started 5th, Machete started 4th, and they are now the opposite way around. So that must have happened on the very first lap of the race. And even if they didn't have each other to fight with, they would still have DRS now. Such is their proximity to the leaders. There are... Oh wow, Andre's already up into 16th place. Great drive from him so far, up to P16, up 9 places from his starting position. And I think his goal for this race will be to get into the top 10 and hope for a reverse grid pole.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Of course, reverse grid pole position is plucked out of a hat, so it could be anybody, really, from, I believe it's 6th to 10th. Remind me if I'm wrong, Caitlin,
yeah.
That it's basically anywhere from 6th to 10th. The numbers pulled out of the hat, and if you're in that position, if you finish in that position in race 1, congratulations, you're on pole position. And all of the drivers within that top that kind of band all get flipped around and end up so you get it's a bit more about overtaking, really, the sprint race, or race 2 as we call it here. You know, that's what it's for in real world motorsport. It's all about proving you can overtake. Here it's just adds another level of excitement as Hamming maybe having to go in the defensive. He was a bit wide coming through Beckett's there. And that being said, though, Mazzoudis again a little bit wide, and that's Hamming really wide coming through Chapel, and that's Mercedes almost into the back of him. And that should be Mercedes going through, because Hamming will have lost all the momentum there unless he feels brave on the brakes into Stone. No, decides to tuck in behind. So a mistake there for Frank Hamming, drops into P7. Hopefully he'll be able to recover that one. That's not what he would have wanted, but a big shame there. Mercedes, though, he's been looking really, really strong so far in that Valet car, moving up to P6, moving forward, and now he's got Ruben Machete in his sights.
Mike Bell has just had a big spin and decided to call it a day. Vincent Gutt is now side by side with Damien Kardash again. Kardash maintaining P13, but Gutt gets back to the inside line and spins and hits the wall hard. Big damage to Vincent Gutt's car. And he rejoins, or at least he's trying to rejoin the race, hits the wall again in his rejoin and again. Do it once more for good luck. Nope, he's away. Okay, so Vincent Gutt rejoins the race, but has an entire lap to do without a front wing now as a result of losing control of his car there. Muscat nearly had a go at Stevens into Brooklands that time. I tell you what, now it's not just the race for the lead. Stevens got to be careful not to lose the DRS altogether while he's fighting with Jason Muscat here. That is very close. 23 cars remaining now, all of them on the lead lap. Of course, the PB Racing cars were running last and second to last out of the runners. But now that Mike Bell has retired, the race is back to being between cars on the lead lap. We are 10 laps into this event, and Stevens is definitely in danger of losing the DRS altogether from Jake Dennehan here, which would make him extremely vulnerable to Jason Muscat, who we were riding on board with just then. Stavros Mercedes gaining on Machete, stays P6.
Yeah, nice stuff there. Mercedes looking on Machete as diving into the pits in the background. As no, it's so McGorgy's coming into the pits from P4. So McGorgy, the first of the leaders, but I believe Frank Hamming dived in as well behind, maybe, was it? No, it was, apology, it was Rigoto who dived in, Amari Watson in as well. So McGorgy, the first of the leaders to box in that Jordan-themed livery in this special one of colours, which looks really super, must I say. Looks like he's going onto the hard tyres, should be able to take those to the end of the race. Soft tyres running a lot longer than I expected they would do. So now, does he come out into clean air? I don't think he is. Cars in front, yep, so... It's not too bad for McGorgy. Have to see how the other drivers up the top react. In a bit of clean air, but again in front is Darius Andre, who's massively worked his way forward. Have to wait and see what's going to happen for McGorgy. What happens with Dennehan, Stevens and Muscat as well.
And apparently Mercedes has now passed Machete. So sorry, let me check this name. Stavros Mercedes, my apologies, Stavros Mercedes has got past Ruben Machete there for P4 currently. Of course, these two still yet to make their stop. Both of the Jordan-like Novas came into the pits on that lap, although they were separated by enough that they weren't forced to double stack. Alex Lahoe also came into the pits. Stevens has gained about 7/10 on Jake Dennehan in that lap. And do either of these pit? Yes, they do. So into the pits comes Jake Dennehan from the very front of the race. And it's push time now for Tom Stevens. He has a clean road in front of him. He doesn't have DRS. And this could now also be Jason Muscat's chance to finally get past Tom Stevens. Because, of course, Stevens doesn't have that straight line advantage anymore. But yes, a crucial time in the race with the leader pitting and second and third staying out.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we go then. What is going to happen? Dennehan in, pulling out of the pit lane now on that hard compounder tyre. Where is McGorgy? Dennehan's out in front of Andre. So McGorgy hasn't worked out for him, unfortunately. Stevens assumes the lead of the race, but with Muscat close behind, I'm assuming these two will be in this lap, if not the next lap. Muscat will be looking to get ahead on the way into the pit lane as well, just to rub a little bit of salt in the wound potentially. Of course, maybe a battle of the virtual pit crews on our hands as well, coming through into Copse Corner, down the old start-finish straight, of course. A little bit of a lift, a little bit of a blend in these cars, and the faster cars up in Super League and Superlights, that'll be almost flat out. Definitely flat out in qualifying trim. Coming through Maggots and Beckett's. Muscat, I think he's just struggling a little bit in the corners, maybe. Tyres just starting to not be too kind to him. So I'll be assuming that we'll be seeing him coming in this lap. Dennehan, of course, down into P9. Will they be able to jump him? Dennehan looked to get in pretty clean air. McGorgy with Andre in front of him. Not the plan. Heading through Stowe Corner. What happens now? Who darts over to the right? Stevens does. Muscat stays out. Okay, here we go. Muscat into the lead of the race. Tom Stevens in. Behind him as well, that's Mercedes coming in. So, where do we go from here, Caitlin?
And how often do we see that? Jason Muscat staying out latest and leading the race. It happens pretty much every time, really. Tax, death, and Jason Muscat leading the race. The three things that are inevitable in GPVWC Formula Sprint 1. Well, I say that. There's hopefully no taxes or death today, but anyway, you know what I mean. You know how the saying goes. Tom Stevens exits the pit lane now. Zjebinski is also in. Klont is in. Darius Andre stays out, actually. Sorry, that was another driver coming in behind him. Menno Klont. That's who I was trying to say. Out of the pits there, Tom Stevens. And he is only just behind Jake Dennehan. So it's status quo. It's as they were. And the race is looking set to continue. Basically, exactly how it was before. That is dependent, of course, on what Jason Muscat does now and where he comes out in relation to this fight. There's Alex Lahoe. He's been into the pits relatively recently, and he has also come out just behind Zjebinski, goes to the outside line. Both of these guys have stopped, and that was a really good move, actually. Managed to get straight back to the racing line there, did Alex Lahoe, and found traction wherever he went. Oh, except for there.
Yeah, not ideal, but there we see them. So Stevens, Dennehan fighting. So Dennehan will assume the lead of this race once again. Zjebinski, unable to find a way through. There goes Jason Muscat into the pits, lap 13 to 26. He's managed to take those soft tyres halfway. Very impressive. He'll be looking pacey later on the hard tyres then. And now we wait to see where Muscat comes out as well. It seems to be that the top 3 and 4 drivers, they've all kind of come out roughly where you'd expect them to do. Machete comes in as well, so Hamming inherits the lead of the race for the time being. Let's hope it's a quick stop for Jason Muscat. Up on the virtual jacks, back down again. Ooh, it's a little slow. It's very slow for Jason Muscat. That was not great. 6.4 stops. So Dennehan and Stevens passed. Is Andre going to get past as well? Yeah. Yes, he does. So he gets out back in front of McGorgy, but a big job to do there for Jason Muscat. A disappointing stop.
Machete dropping quite a lot as well. He's fighting with Stavros Mercedes on pit exit, and those two weren't particularly close to each other. Mercedes up the inside. He's on a real charge today, and well, Machete will get the DRS here, going onto the straight. No, he doesn't actually, because Mercedes was behind in the detection zone. They're going 3 wide with Amari Watson now. Watson down the middle, and he passes Ruben Machete too. That has not worked out there for Ruben Machete whatsoever, losing plenty of places. Alex Slahu also losing a place again to Mateusz Diabinski. And Menno Klontz about to spin. Menno Klontz spins down at Brooklands and rejoins into the racing line, but no one coming through there. Drivers all over the place. Kasper Michalak now becomes our 3rd retirement of the day, so 3 drivers out now, and Ruben Machete will be feeling like he's out.
Yeah, absolutely. Big shame there for Ruben Machete. But, you know, that's racing sometimes. It doesn't always go your way. And, of course, luckily enough, he's got another race to look forward to later as well, so we can make up for it then. But, yeah, big shame. Stuck behind Amari Watson now as Hamming into the pits. So Dennehan will reassume the lead of the race. The top 4 not changing places, but the gaps between them quite a lot bigger. So Dennehan now, he's got about 7 tenths over Stevens, but then the gap back to Muscat a bit bigger. So the top 4 has now become a top 2, and it seems at the moment it will be Dennehan and Stevens fighting for the win. Hamming comes out in 5th place. Could be under attack though on cold tyres. No, manages to hold on just from Darius Andre, who's been sliced away forward, but he's having a look to the inside of the loop. They do make contact. Andre gets very sideways out of the side of the loop. That was very, very close. And look as well on board with Mercedes. DRS train coming down the Wellington straight. Does Andre look to the inside into Brooklands? Yes, he does, but he has to decide against it. Almost touching again. Andre getting a little bit sideways on the rear as well in the entry. That's going to mess up his entry and exit from Luffield. So this is a chance for Mercedes down into Cops. But no, Mercedes has to lift off to avoid bumping into the back of Darius Andre. But will he have a look anyway? I think he might. He's got the momentum on him still. No, won't be close enough. So he's going to have to settle for P7 until at least down into Stowe. Oh, that's a huge wobble. And that's Darius Andre running very, very wide. And they're going to run side by side into Maggotts and Beckis. This can't work. No, Mercedes to seize the position. So stays in 7th. But Darius Andre, I think his time on the soft tyres coming to an end. It's looking very, very wobbly.
Yep, Darius, the last driver out, or the top driver out there who hasn't stopped yet. Stavros Mercedes now slipstreaming his way to the inside, which may actually block Andre from pitting if indeed he was intending to this time around. Through goes Stavros Mercedes, and into the pits comes Darius Andre, and he will drop down the order, but still has a chance for a relatively good result here today. There's Sandro Van Sand coming in behind as well. He's got up the field a bit since last time I looked. Actually, not that far behind Darius Andre, was he? Anyway, those two stop in their boxes now. I had a quick look back at what happened to Kasper Michalak. It looks as if he just kind of pulled over and called it a day. So no accident or anything there. But anyway, Jake Dennehan, very defensive there from Tom Stevens onto the Wellington straight, not wanting to give him any semblance of a tow. Does mean he was slightly off the line into Brooklands. Darius Andre now out of the pits. He is in 15th place, so has made his way up into the points from 25th on the grid, and he will probably continue to climb in this race. Only 10 laps to go now, so every position that he gains from now on is going to have to be a little harder fought than before. But I can still see him getting potentially a top 10. It's going to be tricky. He'll probably be about 11th or 12th by the end of this. But who knows? Darius Andre is very, very good. Dennehan made a mistake going onto the straight that time. Dennehan ran wide and over the grass slightly at Chapel. Stevens has the run, goes to the outside line, and they're going to touch. They're very nearly locking wheels. They didn't touch somehow. Tom Stevens runs wide. He's on the inside for the Vale. And Jake Dennehan will have the inside for Club. So Dennehan maintains the lead. But that's the first real mistake that we've seen from Jake Dennehan today.
It is indeed. So Dennehan, he's been off camera. I think he's been making mistakes just out of our sight. He's been losing time coming through the last sector. But Tom Stevens, that was his best chance so far this race to get back into the lead. Unable to do so. But again, very, very close to the back of Dennehan, who just looks to be able to get the car slightly turned in better. And takes a much more aggressive line through the loop as well. So he'll get the momentum. Bit of a wobble in the exit for Tom Stevens as well. But he'll have the advantage of the DRS. Dennehan breaking the tone massively. And I can tell already Stevens, unless he's borderline stupid, frankly, isn't going to go for the move into Brooklands and doesn't. But now Stevens knows that Dennehan is going to be worried about making a mistake into that section this lap round. So it's going to be actually a good chance into there once again if you can build up, because Dennehan's going to be wary of that. He's going to be trying, maybe just holding off just a little bit through there to not make that mistake. So Stevens, if he's smart, he'll be lining up for the move into there once again. But still following Dennehan on board with Stevens, who, if we finish as we do, will take the championship lead. Of course, still got a second race to look forward to after this, so it may not last, but he's looking very, very quick. He was rapid in qualifying, hasn't quite had the race pace, but Dennehan making mistakes, driving super, super defensive. And, well, at the moment, Stevens, it seems like it's just waiting for the inevitable if he's going to get through, but he has to get through soon, because otherwise, Dennehan's going to find his rhythm, and he's going to be able to just hit his marks, and, well, it's going to be very difficult from that point onwards.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly a done deal. It's not inevitable at all, because Jake Dennehan is very good in defence and has held him off this long, and he's got 8 laps still to fend him off. It's going to be so tricky though. Jake Dennehan with Tom Stevens on his tail. 2 very evenly matched drivers, but Stevens has the advantage of the DRS and of course the Supreme Nocturne setups. They work very closely with THR, Toby Davis, and that whole gang. And Ruben Machete there has access to the same materials, and he is very high up the order as well, running in P8. Was running higher towards the start of the race, lost a few places in the pit window. Probably has the pace to get past some of these guys, so we'll have to keep half an eye on him as well, while also making sure that we don't miss the lead battle. Muscat also still gaining on the lead battle after his stop. He's been pushing, still has the fastest lap of the race, only just, but has gained back a couple of tenths of a second. Maybe too little too late, but if Dennehan and Stevens fight too much, then there could potentially still be a fight containing more than just those two for the lead of the race. And now Luca Gray has been into the pits, meaning that everyone who has to make their pit stop has now done so. The order you see, and was that Dennehan running slightly wide again? No, we're looking back further at Amari Watson, who ran slightly wide and over the grass at Chapel. Still managed to get closer to Mercedes by the end of the straight. But anyway, the race continuing, and we have just 8 laps to go from now, including the lap that we're on.
We do indeed. Tom Stevens still trying to look for that gap. Look, he's just struggling ever so slightly out of the loop. It's a very tricky corner. It seems much tidier that time, but Dennehan just gets such a drive out of the low-speed corners, and, with that really aggressive toe braking as well, he's doing everything he needs to do to keep the number 28 driver behind him. But, there's still 8 laps left to go. As you said, Ken, there's still a chance for anything to happen. We've seen Dennehan making a few mistakes already this race. Can he absorb that pressure as we get into the final phases, as the tyres start to fall off in this stint? Machete getting closer and closer to Amari Watson each and every corner. He's got some real pace on board that Nocturne car at the moment. Can he force his way through? Of course, Amari Watson has been pretty quick today, it must have been said. Mercedes in front of them has been a real star for me today so far. He's been looking really solid in that Valet Esports car. Meanwhile, back up the front, Dennehan losing a little bit of time coming through Maggots and Beckett's. DRS once again for Tom Stevens, but again, not going to be close enough for the move. He's there or thereabouts, but just can't quite get close enough to force the gap. Can't quite get close enough to force the mistake out of Dennehan. It's just got to come naturally. So Tom Stevens is now just waiting to see if Dennehan can keep his cool, keep it collected, or is he going to be, unable to handle the pressure from the number 28? Will he make another mistake? Will it prove to be fatal in his challenge for this victory? Lap 20 of 26. Not long left to go now.
Talking of fatal, Sandro Van Sand's car is very dead right now. He attempted to pass Menno Klont and had one of the scariest types of accident, which is when you attempt to go for a move, but your DRS is open and you have less maneuverability than you thought you did. You attempt to move over to the other side of the road and your car just swaps ends on you. That is exactly what happened to Sandro Van Sand, right at the point of track that we are watching right now. And that's why his car ended up mashed against the barriers. So 21 cars remaining in this race now, with the exclusion of Sandro Van Sand. And here are the top 2 out of those 21. Silverstone, a relatively difficult circuit to overtake on. There are definitely overtaking opportunities here, which is why it works so well for sim racing. But you need to do it well. You need to catch them at exactly the right point on the track, and then hang on at the other parts. This here is one of the worst sections for following the car in front of you, because the car is bouncing around and the bumps are exacerbated by that. And then you get the DRS and you're like, oh great, could have done with that a few corners ago. Up to the Stowe corner they go. Jake Dennehan leading by about 3.5 tenths of a second. Comes out slightly during Stowe. Again, with Dennehan getting much more slipstream than Tom Stevens behind. Sorry, much more air over his wings than Tom Stevens behind. 7 laps to go in this race now. Just 7 laps to go. Muscat, McGorgy and Hamming is another battle that is not over yet. But we are watching the battle between Mercedes, Watson and Machete, because this one could go right to the flag.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's many battles that could go right down to the line, could go either way in that top 10. Again, a very, very close race on all aspects. There's Machete poking a nose up the inside, coming through the loop, but unable to make the gap here. But again, he's very, very close to Amari Watson. He's got the DRS. Amari Watson has the DRS of Mercedes. Machete staying tucked in. I thought he would have gone for a move there. Maybe it was the camera angle deceiving just how close the cars were. But Machete, he just, again, same problem that Tom Stevens is having with Jake Dennehan. Just can't make the gap appear right now. Frank Hamming, meanwhile, having a look potentially at Omar Gorgi into Cops. No, but also very, very close. We've got a 2-way fight and then a 3-way fight and then a 3-way fight behind them as well. So very, very close indeed all around on this Silverstone circuit as they head through Maggots and Beckett's.
Was very close to clipping the grass again that time around. He just about got away with it. And if he had clipped the grass there, I think Tom Stevens would have gone through, because look how close Tom was by the end of the straight. That shows you just how important every minute move Jake Dennehan makes in this race is now, because the slightest misjudgment could allow Tom Stevens straight past him. Menno Klont outside of the points on the back of Philip Koenig. It's not been a great day for Menno. He had that big spin earlier on. Philip Koenig is another driver who's had his car facing backwards at this corner, actually, Cops. And Klont, taking a look into Maggots and Beckett's, that's a surefire way to get your car chopped in half. But anyway, keeps in 17th position and now has a much better opportunity to get past on the straight. And even if neither of these drivers score points, this is still valuable to an extent, because that's a move to get himself 1 row higher on the grid for race 2, which could help him there.
Stevens just doesn't quite have the pace at the moment to get through Dennehan. And, as I was saying in qualifying earlier, it just, the race pace, I wasn't expecting it to be quite there. Dennehan got through and is just holding firm onto the lead. I mean, he's pushing hard. You know, Stevens is making him work for it. But Denhan just controlling the race at the moment. Stevens, though, pretty good run through Maggots and Beckett's, but unfortunately loses out on the run through Chaplin. Denhan, of course, will be breaking the toe once again. Lap 22 or 26 at the moment. It seems like Denhan, this is his race to lose, but of course anything can happen in sim racing, and it usually does. Will Stevens be able to get fast? Who knows? Of course, make sure you slide your predictions into the YouTube chat. Caitlin, of course, always keeping an eye on there. And of course, if you've got any inside information or anything that we may want to know about as well, as Menno Klont goes for a spin coming through the loop, I believe that is, and seems like he can't get the car going again, and that maybe says to me some pedal issues, and yeah, he's retired from the race. I think that was coming through Brooklands. Menno Klont, the wheel was turning, you could see the wheels turning back and forth, but nothing coming through the pedals. I think that may be a hardware issue there, so big shout for Menno Klont. He was running a pretty good race. Further up the pack, Frank Hamming, he's still putting the pressure on McGorgy, but just, again, unable to make the gap appear. It's very, very tight, very, very tense. Everyone holding their cards very close to their chest, and it's really getting into crunch time now. You've got to start taking risks very soon if you want to be working your way forwards.
Still less than half a second between the top two. That's basically how it's been for the majority of this race. And they've been within a second every single lap, except for the laps where they were completely separated on the track due to the pit stops. But anyway, very close. Frank Hamming also on the back of Owen McGorgy, who himself is on the back of Jason Muscat. Good stuff here in GPVWC Super League, Formula Sprint 1, sorry. Menno Klont's retirement, I had a look back at it. It looked like a relatively standard spin, did it all by himself, but I'm not sure it was a hardware issue. That depends on whether the inputs we were seeing were correct or not. Denhan and Stevens once again coming through to start another lap. Here's Machete all over the tail of Amari Watson. The car's looking very, very lively, but also planted, able to move to the other side of the road without losing control. And they almost swapped places there. The timing screen said they did swap places, but I'm not convinced. Towards the start-finish straight they go again. 3 laps remaining for these two. Lap 24, lap 25, and lap 26. And then the race will be over, and they'll have to do it all again in race 2. Remco de Joux there, just getting out of the way of the leaders, so don't panic if you see a car on the grass. And Machete goes for it on the outside of the loop, and is showing the door.
Yeah, not quite for Machete, but oh, look how close he is with the DRS. This should be a done deal. But you never know. Pulls to the outside into Brooklands. Who's later on the brakes? I think it might be Machete. No, it's Watson, and Machete the long way round as well. So Watson will hold on to the position, but that was the best chance Machete's had in a while. But again, you know, late in the race, got to start taking risks, got to start making those moves if you want to be challenging for the better positions, for the better points. But then again as well, you don't want to walk away from this race with nothing. Of course, race 1 offers more points than race 2, a reverse grid race. So it's important that you maximise your points. And of course, everyone wants more points, but you also don't want to end up in a gravel trap, in a wall and out of the race. There is Denhan still in the lead. The gap's been about 0.5 of a second for the last 5-6 laps now. Stevens maintaining that gap pretty well, managing to hold onto the back, but just unable to get any closer, whether that be the dirty air, whether that be Denhan is just holding him off, who knows. Coming round to start the penultimate lap of this race. Tom Stevens, it is now or never.
Yeah, it's felt that way for a long time now. It's actually getting rather predictable. I say that, of course, almost in jest, because racing is never predictable. And especially towards the end, Stevens is going to be getting even more desperate, and Denhan is going to be watching his mirrors nervously, thinking, oh, I think he's going to go for it. This lap probably won't, or at least not this time down into to Brooklands, because Denhan has well and truly broken the toe of that car behind. Stevens still with the DRS, still able to keep up with him. Actually, the thing that I'm in awe of in this fight is that Stevens can keep up with him through this sector here. The Brooklands, Luffield, then all the way through to Chapel curve. In the Formula Sprint 2 race the other day, my car was moving about so badly that I was running wide at cops every time I was behind someone, or going so slowly through the corner that it didn't matter. But Stevens just seems to not even notice that there's a car in front of him. It's great, great driving from Tom Stevens. And the car is obviously set up very well here. Down through Chapel now. Although still not able to get close enough to Jake Dennehan ahead. Very close.
Very close indeed. And we've got 1 1/4 laps left to run here for race 1 of the Formula Sprint Run. Round 6 of the championship in 2022 here at the Silverstone International Circuit. Well, this is technically the Grand Prix circuit, but Silverstone International Circuit is the name of the track. But there's also a layout called the International Layout. Very confusing. Further back in the pack, this three-way battle for third as well. Still continuing. Muscat holding on to third place. One more tour here in race 1. And this is it. This is where Stevens, it's win or bust in my opinion. He's got to go for it, but where does he go for it? He's got to risk it all. If he wants the win, of course, he will still be leading the championship at the moment by a few points due to McGorgy's 4th place.
I think McGorgy will still have him, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, it'll be tight, but it's going to be close, and this is vital championship points. But Stevens, he's a pure racer. He wants to win, and they're running out. He's running out of opportunities. He's running out of opportunities fast as they come through Luffield and onto the old start-finish straight. 0.5 of a second is the gap. Dennehan still maintaining. He's been pretty faultless the last few laps after a couple of mistakes over the majority of the race. He's kept his cool coming into Cop's corner. Can he keep his cool over the radar of the... Oh, no! And that is Stevens out very wide.
And that might be his last chance gone. If Dennehan can hook up Maggots and Beckett and Chapel this time around, it looks like he's going to. So that was Tom Stevens' last opportunity gone there as he ran wide and all the way out over Cops. You can gain time in that, although you shouldn't, and Stevens hasn't. And slightly wide there was Amari Watson, but it looks as if Jake Dennehan is going to claim the victory here. He's coming through the Vale and Club chicane now, and what a drive it's been to hold off the extremely fast Tom Stevens all the way. This will be his 4th victory of the season, and he hits the wall, but he still wins the race. Jake Dennehan wins, Tom Stevens is 2nd, Jason Muscat will be 3rd, followed by Owen McGorgy. And then Frank Hamming will be 5th. There's Stavros Mercedes. Good drive from him. Quietly brilliant. Amari Watson, P7. Then Ruben Machete, Mateusz Jabinski, and Alexander Ragosa. Alex Lahou, Darius Andre. So Andre did get up to 12th in the end. So not quite quick enough to get the reverse grid pole. But he's up there, up 13 places. Damien Kardash, P13. Then Craig Patterson and Arda Erkan scoring the rest of the points. And missing out were Philip Koenig, Vincent Gutt, Luca Gray, Alessandro Valente, Remco de Joux, and all of the drivers who DNF'd. But Russ, what a close finish there between Dennehan and Stevens.
And what a brilliant race as well, Caitlin. Just tense action the whole way through. Strategy came into it. Clean air. You had battles all throughout the pack, and some brilliant moves, some drama, and just a super, super tense race. A great performance from Dennehan there, withholding the pressure. He'll be delighted with that performance, but of course can't be too happy. He's got to reset and go again. Part of the wonders of Formula Sprint 1, you can be over the moon now. You just got to calm it back down. You got to focus on race 2, and well, you can take a race win and then have a dreadful result in race 2, and it can ruin your night, unfortunately. But such is the nature of it. But a great performance there. Unlucky for Tom Stevens, losing out from pole position, but very close. You can see their nocturne drivers in the background going side by side, a photo finish. It is Dennehan, though, that takes the feature race win with Stevens in P2, with Jason Muscat. A great performance for Multiforce rounding out the podium. Owen McGorgy was P4 with Frank Hamming in P5, and Stavros Mercedes, a great drive up to P6. Amari Watson was 7th. Ruben Machete was 8th, and Mateusz Zabinski and Alexander Ragosa rounded out the top 10. A lot of fantastic performances out here by a lot of drivers. Alex Lahou was in P11 with Darius Andre working his way up to 12th. Awesome from him. He'll be looking to... Well, judging by that performance, he'll be looking to massively challenge forward in the sprint race. Kardash was 13th with Patterson in 14th. P15 was Arda Erkan with Philip Koenig in 17th. Then it was Vincent Gutt in 17th. Luca Gray 18th. Alessandro Valente 19th. Remco de Joux is classified as a lap down in P20, and then a whole host of DNFs. Menno Klont, Sander Van Sant, Casper Michalak, Mike Bell, and Massage Hauler, unfortunately, all retiring from the race. But, while it's reset and focus for Jake Dennehan and those guys, they get another shot and try and improve their night.
That's the 4th round in a row where Jake Dennehan has scored a victory. The 6th round in a row where Dennehan has been on the podium. And I had a look back at the finish there. He didn't quite touch the wall. He just got very close to it in celebration. But he was under a lot more control than I implied at the time. Great stuff from Jake. And his mid-season championship challenge still coming along strong. I think that this is probably a 3-horse race for the championship now. McGorgy, Stevens and Dennehan. And the wonderful thing about that is that they're from 3 different teams. We're now going to go for a quick break, but we will be back in time for race 2. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be exciting. The winners are going to have to come through from anywhere between 6th and 10th on the grid. Welcome back, everyone. We are still at Silverstone, haven't gone anywhere, and this is still GPVWC Formula Sprint 1, but race 2 of the day, race 2 of round 8. The reverse grid number that has been drawn is P8, meaning that Ruben Machete will be on pole position, and that is quite a mouth-watering prospect, actually, considering how good we know Ruben Machete to be. Amari Watson will line up second on the grid. Actually, we'll go through all of this when we have the graphic up on our screen, but you get the drill. Top 8 reverse, so our race 1 winner will have to start from 8th on the grid. Let's get the grid up. Because we are away on our formation lap. There you see it. Ruben Machete is on pole, followed by Amari Watson, Stavros Mercedes, and Frank Hamming. And then Owen McGorgy, our championship leader, coming into the round, will be going off P5. Not entirely sure where he is in relation to Tom Stevens in the championship now, but we will have to see. Jason Muscat P6, then Tom Stevens, and our race 1 winner, Jake Dennehan. Mateusz Jabinski, Alexander Ragosa, Alex Laho, and Darius Andre are the top 12. And then we get down to Damien Kardash, Craig Patterson, Ada Erkan, and Philip Koenig. Craig Patterson in the other one of the Jordan liveried cars. Vincent Gutt, Luca Gray, Alessandro Valente, and Remco De Giu. We're getting down into the retirements now. The remainder of the drivers retired from race 1: Menno Klont, Sandro Van Sand, Casper Miklach, and Maciej Heiler. And we only have 24 cars here, so we lost 1 from race 1. Good to see Menno Klont back on the grid, actually. He messaged me after race 1 and said that his retirement was indeed caused by some sort of issue. Anyway, he had a screen freeze, and then he was kicked out of the server after spinning. Anyway, Ross, 24 drivers about to line up. Only one of them on soft tyres by the looks of things, and it's Mercedes from 3rd.
Yeah, that is brave from Mercedes, in my opinion. I mean, this is a 17-lap race, and in race 1, the softs were not going 17 laps. So yeah, going to be interesting to see how that all works out. Might have to do some heavy conservation, but it's a brave strategy. But everyone else on the hards, Ruben Machete going from the pole position. Going to be interesting. My eyes are on Darius Andre in this race, though. He was phenomenal coming through the pack in race 1. Of course, so Mercedes very fast in race 1 as well on that soft tyres. I think those two are the ones to watch from Mercedes. Can he hold on to those rubber?
And I don't think anyone can beat Ruben Machete here, but it's up to the 23 cars behind him to prove me wrong. Ross, do you have any last-minute predictions for who's going to win this?
No. Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot tighter in this one with the reverse grid. I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it could be Machete. I'm not sure. Just have to wait and see, won't we?
Here we go then. Maciej Heiler will be the last driver to line up on the grid. A few drivers will be slightly out of position due to race 1 retirements. But here we go. When the 5 red lights will go off, we will be underway. You all know the drill. You've seen it once already. This time for 17 laps with no mandatory pit stop. And the only reason you would come down the pits is if you'd had an accident or wasted your tyres. 4 lights, 5 lights, and go! Away we go, and Machete will get the racing line. He covers off the lead, heading up towards turn 1. Mercedes sweeps around the outside of Frank Hamming for P3. So the top 4 all stay in the same order, but look at Watson. He took a look for the lead of the race, and now he's on the outside line through turn 2. Ignore the fact he appears to be on hard tyres now. I think that's going to update itself later on in the lap, unless that really has changed. But anyway, Stavros Mercedes now to his inside, down towards Brooklands. This is where the leaders went side by side in race 1. Frank Hamming losing a place and 3 wide with and round goes. No. Wow, Muscat around. So Muscat losing places on the first lap.
Oh, Jackson in left field. Oh, that is a big qualifier. That's 5 cars involved.
Stevens was involved. He missed his rear wing.
Stevens was involved. Oh, there was so many top drivers involved in that. Stevens, Mercedes was involved. Jabinski was involved. Oh, no, it's a huge accident. Someone upside down. Cops.
Jake Dennehan is upside down and in the barriers, and that looked a little glitchy to me. I'm not sure that was a realistic accident at all. But anyway, Machete now leads by 2 seconds from McGorgy and Hamming. And whatever the heck happened behind him, Darius Andre's 4th. He started 12th. And off goes Remco de Joux. This is absolute madness. Here's a replay now. And this is of, this is of Tom Stevens. So we're going to see what happened to him down into Brooklands. But he got involved in the accident that took place at Luffield. Murray Watson and Jake Dennehan are our first 2 retirements from this race. Mathieu Heiler's now off the road. So there's the contact with Muscat. He goes spinning. But then something else happens in Luffield. It looks like
around their own, I think. Oh, and everyone just piles in.
It was Mercedes and Watson, who made the initial contact. Mercedes and Watson came together, and then the rest of the field all piled in behind. No idea,
even apologies. So turns in, he just gets caught from behind and up and over. Doesn't actually go over, but apparently he's learned how to levitate.
It does. That's just a glitch.
Yeah,
but,
I think just went for the move, and I don't think Watson saw him there. And Watson, at this point, he's committed to the corner. Contact inevitable. And round goes Dennehan, and rear wheel digs a little bit into the ground. Up on his side, does very nearly go over. Learns the gift of flight and hard into the wall. Crazy scenes here on the opening lap of race 2. So many top drivers in the wrong place, out of the race. We've lost Dennehan and Watson.
Up the inside of Ercan into Cups. Great move there for P10. That was extremely brave. And Sandro Van Sand making up for his race 1 retirement by getting into P10 already. So many drivers gaining so many places just by avoiding those collisions. But that's what you need to do at the start of a race. Tom Stevens is last now. Exits the pits in last position. Our, possibly championship leader. He's right up there. He was 2nd coming into this round. Is last in the race and a long way down, just hoping that there's some more attrition so that he can pick up a point or 2 in this race. But that's given Ruben Machedi quite a lead now, 2 seconds over Owen McGorgy and Frank Hamming, who are fighting over 2nd place. What a crash that was from Jake Dennehan there, very spectacular. The reason it looks a bit glitchy in replays is because the replay doesn't like to show cars going upside down for some reason, and so even though his car did, in reality you can't see that on the replay. But anyway, crazy incident has put him out of the race, along with Murray Watson, who was involved in the Luffield crash. Ragosa, Mercedes, Stevens, Muscat, they've all lost over 10 positions in the race. And of course, Stevens, Mercedes, and a couple of others have been into the pits. There's Menno Klont up the inside of Ada Ercan. That is for P11. And Klont not able to go through. Let's hope his technology holds together this time. Szybiński and de Joux fighting behind as well. And the race continues in a completely different order to how it started.
Well, I've just seen in the YouTube chat from Josh Dunner that it confirmed that Dennehan did flip. It's just that R-Factor didn't like it on our stream and decided to not show him flip. So that's why he's out of the race. Terminal damage, a big accident, of course. Luckily in sim racing, you don't get hurt when you have a crash. That's one of the many plus sides of it. But yeah, Machedi leading the race now by 2.5 seconds from McGorgy. We were talking race 1 about how Stevens looking to take the championship lead. Stevens down in P22 right now. McGorgy now looking to assert his dominance, and Dennehan as well out of the race. So this is easy pickings championship-wise for Owen McGorgy. Even if he doesn't win, a 2nd place is big points in that regard. But looking further back, a bit of a wobble there for de Joux. Has maybe a nudge from Muscat potentially. Now Muscat under pressure from Vincent Gutt as well. So a bit of a train going on with this kind of mid-pack. As look at how close the valet car is to de Joux or to Muscat rather in front. Obviously Muscat caught up in that opening lap incident. There's a few cars running wide there as well. That was Menno Klont getting a bit wide through turn 3, which the name always escapes me. But yeah, so very close once again as we move past the initial chaos up in front as well. Moves being made. Menno Klont on Matthias Szybinski. And I believe he gets through, or Ercan rather, on Matthias Szybinski. Ercan getting through. So nice stuff. But Philip Koenig now having to defend from Menno Klont. But moving past the chaos of the first lap. Looks like we could be seeing a very similar race to race 1. Of course, just trying to, as Mercedes their fastest lap of the race on those soft tyres. He was also caught up in that lap. And there's contact again at Copse. Oh my goodness me. That was de Joux and Muscat nudging wheels. Somehow no one off the road. We've already had one big accident at Copster. Let's try and avoid another one, please, lads. Oh, that caused a bit of an internal crisis there for a moment. What a crazy pair of races that we've already had. It's only lap 4 of race 2 here tonight in GPVWC round 6, the 2022 Formula Sprint 1 Championship here at Silverstone. Lap 4 of 17, and wow, it's just been a phenomenal night's racing so far. And as I was saying, looking like we're lining up for a brilliant race 2 as well. More tense action all throughout the pack.
I don't like the way that every time a car runs wide at Stowe, the timing screen drops them behind the car behind them, even if they haven't actually swapped places. It's very confusing. And if you have been noticing cars quickly swapping and then swapping back again on the timing screen, that's why contact between Gray and Valente. So there's a collision for P8 there, and they're off the road. So Valente's lost his front wing. Gray's been tipped around. That puts Ada Erkan into the top 10 now. And it looks as if Gray kind of left the door a little open. Valente took his opportunity, dived, but it turns out it was just a difference in line. And those two lines converged, which is why they have made contact with each other now. You're going to see it on the stream. And there it is. Just one running wide, the other one taking a completely different line. And a very clunky incident, as Valente has now retired from this race. So Valente becomes our 3rd retirement after running pretty well in 9th position.
So yeah, shame there. Hopefully he's able to keep it moving further up the pack. McGorgy dropping back from Asheda, Hamming on the attack behind as well. So McGorgy, again, not looking like he's quite really, he hasn't really got the pace that we'd expect from him. But he's got some luck here with Denhan and Stevens getting all caught up in that lap 1 chaos in P2 in the reverse grid race. If he can just hold that position from Hamming behind, he's on for a good haul of points and to retake the lead in the championship. If he did lose it, we'll need to confirm the maths for you. Hopefully one of the GPV staff watching along in the YouTube chat is actually competent at maths. I certainly aren't. But yeah, McGorgy, this is a very easy race for him. He doesn't need the pressure to push and fight Michele. He can just conserve his tyres. As long as he keeps Hamming behind, he's on for a good haul of points and to extend his hand in the championship. And that is Luca Gray round again, coming through club corner.
Yeah, spins the car around. The two Multiforce cars are just swapped as well. Muscat looking, as Gray is now out of the race, Muscat looking a lot quicker than Clont today, and they've decided that that is the order that they should be in. And Gray's instant, it was on the curbs, and he just looped the car around and then decided not to go any further. In terms of tyres, the tyres that they looked like they run on the first lap weren't exactly accurate. There were a few drivers who were showing up as being on soft tyres who weren't. That's just the kind of thing that happens sometimes in R-Factor 2. And the only driver on soft tyres, or the only driver who started on soft tyres, Stavros Mazadis, is now all the way down in 19th position after those incidents. So we really don't have to consider tyres much in this race. Pretty much everyone in with a shot of this race is on the same tyre with the same tyre age, so it won't really come into play today. Second, third and fourth getting a little close here. Darius Andre, Ziobinski goes up the inside of Sandro Van Sand and claims 8th place. Good move there. But yes, Andre is continuing his charge. He's now on the back of Frank Hamming, and that's one that could get interesting as Andre continues to push. He will not have been able to believe his luck on the first lap here. The funny thing to me, actually, is that Ruben Machete probably hasn't got a clue what happened behind him. He just did everything that he needed to, got away from the rest, and suddenly looked down at his time and was like, 2 seconds? Huh? And where are the top guys? That must have been quite a pleasant surprise for Ruben Machete. But anyway, not getting away from Roman Gorky that much. He just needs to maintain that 2-second gap, because obviously you can't pass someone if you're 2 seconds behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. Lap 7 of 17 here in race 2. 10 laps left to go. There's Gorky seemingly just conserving his tyres, or he is to me at least anyway. But yeah, it's all calmed down a little bit after the initial chaos. I mean, race 2, it's always a little bit more crazy in the opening laps. Of course, you got the top 10 guys all a little bit out of position. You got some strategy variations as well. A few drivers maybe starting on the sides. Oh, Muscat round, and another driver round as well at Cops. Muscat
Van
hard
Sant.
into the wall, no rear wing, out of the race he goes unless he somehow gets it back to the pits. That was Van Sant around as well. So two separate incidents coming through cops. I mean, I would say there was oil down there almost or something. Of course, you can't get that in R-Factor 2. That's not simulated. But it almost seemed like there was two completely separate incidents at cops, one after the other. So Van Sant just caught the curb, I think. Yeah, just caught the curb. And then Muscat the car started to slide, went to catch it, and the front end bit. So yeah, very strange there. So chaos continues. I mark my words, everything I'm saying is apparently wrong at the moment.
They both took a healthy handful of curb there, although then again, so did a lot of other drivers who turned out fine. So maybe just set up or something like that. But whatever the case, both of those drivers spinning around. Muscat now without a rear wing, returning to the pit lane. Sander Van Sant got away a little better, although his tyres will probably be square right now. Here's Vincent Gutt on the back of P13. That's Remco de Joux, who was big slide. Who was a lap down in race 1. So another driver who's benefiting from the incidents that we've seen today. Gutt to the outside now. And is he going to sweep through? There's still for points, of course. Race, the points go down to 15th just as they do in race 1. And through goes Vincent Gutt now into P13 in this race. Good stuff there from Vincent.
Frank Hamming still trying to put the pressure on Owen McGorgy. He's a little bit closer this time by. DRS potentially coming into play as they head through Stowe. But again, McGorgy just hitting his marks, running his own race. He doesn't need to push. He doesn't, need to necessarily fight with his main rivals out of the race. Obviously now missing Amari Watson, Jake Denhan, Volante and Gray Stevens as works his way up to P19 as a result of Muscat's accident. But yeah, McGorgy, this is a pretty easy race for him, this one. Just, do his own thing halfway through this event here at Silverstone and in race 2. And of course, 24 car grid down from 26, unfortunately, to E-Team Brit withdrawing from the championship. And of course, if I allow myself to do a little sales pitch, which I will, that means that there is a grid spot available for an extra team now on the Formula Sprint 1 grid. If you fancy getting involved, of course, head over to the GPVWC website at gpvwc.com. You can find out more there. Join the Discord where everything happens, and you can maybe find yourself on the grid with some of these top guys and show the world your sim racing prowess. And the more drivers, the merrier in my ideas. And here is one driver who will be very merry if he is able to get through. Owen McGorgy as they head through. Cops a little bit wide. Had to turn in a bit more, scrub some speed off, so that's not ideal for Frank Hammond. But Maggots and Beckett's a good exit out of Chapel. Could get him a run into Stowe, but McGorgy again, that car looking very planted up ahead. Looking very quick, but a little bit wide actually out of Chapel. So Hamming with the DRS. Will he get close enough? He's closing, but I don't think, no. Not going to be close enough for a move. Does have a little bit of a look, just thinks about it ever so slightly, but then very quickly thought that, that was a daft idea. Sensible decision. Replay here of Frank Hamming, I believe, of the move, of what he just tried to do. No, this is a replay further back. This is Menaclont, maybe? Yeah, Menaclont. Oh, Menaclont getting tangled up there with another driver. So Multiforce not having the most enjoyable race too. They had a pretty decent race 1, but race 2 not quite going their way, but he manages to rejoin in P12. So not many positions lost and hopefully no damage either.
That was Arda Erkan who ran into the back of there, I think. Erkan P11. Actually, Erkan's got away really lightly if that was indeed him. Oh, but it was. Okay, so Erkan has just got away lightly. Good to see. Still running in 11th position. And Manu Klont still running in 12th, although obviously they both lost a lot of time in that one. Here is Frank Hamming on the back of McGorgy, who actually leaves the door open a bit there. Oh, Hamming almost got his nose to the inside of McGorgy there. McGorgy will get a run out of the corner, but Hamming gets the slipstream. McGorgy, you can tell by the body language of his car, he's nervous. They've both dropped to 3 seconds behind our leader now, so they're not even worrying about that anymore. It's all about P2. Through the Maggots Beckett's Chapel complex they go. A difficult sequence of corners when you're running on your own, let alone when you're running with a competitor. Onto the straight they go. Darius Andre right behind them as well. This is really a 3-car scrap, even though Hamming is the main aggressor at this point in time. We can pretty much forget about the leader at this point. This is the race for what we're basically going to see as the lead here. Ruben Machete's been in a class of his own ever since that accident. Off the road, slightly goes Vincent Gutt, may come under attack from Maciej Heiler. Heiler's going to go through into 13th, and Erkan takes a look at Menno Klont up the inside into Stowe. Klont keeps the position for the time being, and Heiler does get 13th. You still there, Russ? What are you thinking of this? Okay, I think we've lost Russ temporarily, but anyway, keep watching this battle. Vincent Gutt. Oh, Klont take. Oh, something's happened to Klont there. Is it the same issue as earlier, I wonder? Of course, in race 1, he had issues with his hardware or software. Oh, it was Muscat, sorry, that was Jason Muscat. So Muscat losing a lap in all of that. My apologies if I panicked any Menno Klont fans. He is still running ahead of Arda Erkan. Had a little twitch going onto the straight there, though, and Erkan is going to pass Klont now around the outside. So Arda Erkan up into P11, Klont down to P12. But yes, that was indeed Jason Muscat just giving way to some of the leaders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Russ, you're back.
No, you go ahead, please.
No, I was just filling in because I didn't think you were here. Carry on.
No, I am here, don't worry. Yeah, apparently we can't decide who wants to commentate tonight, such is the casual nature of our commentator relationship here in the commentary box. Anyway, on board Darius Andre in P4, one of the drivers I said you had to be keeping an eye out for in this race. Lap 11 of 17 of Frank Hamming drawing ever near in front of Hamming, running very wide out of the club chicane, and that is Darius Andre through into the podium places. Wow.
He basically invited him through there. Big mistake from Frank Hamming. Darius Andre is through into second or third position. I remember he started race 1 in 25th place on the grid. Great stuff from Darius Andre here to be up into third place by the end of race 2. There's still 5 laps to go. What can he do about Owen McGorgy? Well, he's lost the DRS range now, but if he keeps demonstrating the pace that we've seen him have before, who knows what he could do. Jason Muscat, meanwhile, set in the fastest lap of the race before he pulled to the side, like we saw him do a couple of minutes ago. And he's on the soft tyres after his pit stop, probably just trying to get something out of this weekend. At least say, I got the fastest lap. But anyway, Frank Hamming still on the tail of Darius Andre. But after that mistake, we'll find it difficult to get back through again, I assume. Been a terrible race for some of the big guys. Jake Dennehan, of course, retiring early. Amari Watson retiring early. Tom Stevens and Jason Muscat taken out of the action. Still running, but a long, long way down. And its advantage, Machete, McGorgy, and Andre in this race. Of course, Machete and Andre aren't really fighting for the championship here, so really, I think the happiest driver after this one is going to be Owen McGorgy.
Yeah, McGorgy will be planting his authority even further after this weekend on that championship lead, even with Tom Stevens' performance in race 1. Heiler looking to the outside of Klont. Heiler sweeping around the outside of Klont. Lovely move there on the way into Stowe. That's a very smart move through there. Very brave move as well. A lot of trust needed in the other riders. Klont gets on the grass, gets very sideways, potentially inviting Vincent Gutt on his way through, but no, manages to hold him off. But yeah, Klont, that's you don't want to, funnily enough, you don't want to be braking on the grass. You don't want to be in the grass in the first place. Dirty tyres, not ideal. Muscat now fastest lap of the race, but he has boxed, of course, down in P20, a lap down on the, I believe he's on the softer compound of tyre. Most of the drivers out there on the harder compound, as Menno Klont somehow still in P13 after that mistake into Vale. But up the front, it's still Machete from McGorgy. 2.6 seconds of the gap. McGorgy's managed to pull away from Darius Andre as well. Just a little bit. So now Andre having to fight with Hamming maybe, and having to settle for third unless he can really push over the last phase of this race. But Ruben Machete has been pretty dominant in race 2. Got the pole position with the reverse grid, and it's just kind of led away from the front. It's been a very, very nice performance.
Almost looks like he doesn't have a rear wing when he opens his DRS like that. Oh, big spin, and that's Arda Erkan again, I'm afraid. Spinning the car around and losing places, so Klunt up to P12 now, Erkan down into P14. He's having one of those races, and here's a replay. Cops, and a real accident black spot in this race so far. He was running close with someone actually, but there was no contact. That was Maciej Heiler he was running close with, but did it all by himself, just trying to get away from Heiler. The trouble is, when you get up onto the curbs and the car gets bounced around like that, sometimes you have half of your wheels touching the ground and the other half not touching the ground. Therefore, one half is getting grip and the other half is not getting grip, and you end up completely rotating. That's one of the reasons it can happen anyway, and Arda Erkan has found that out the hard way. In front of him, Gert and Klunt are relatively close. Here are Hamming and Andre. Andre nearly within DRS range of Magorki now. He's got to find 2 more tenths of a second. Still gaining slightly. Time running out though here in this race.
Absolutely. Not long left to go. Lap 14 of 17. And, well, Darius Andre needs to push now if he wants to have a chance of catching Magorki. Unless, of course, Magorki makes a mistake, but, well, knowing him, that's quite unlikely. He is a formidable talent at the wheel. But Darius Andre, I mean, all kudos meant that Darius, again, a great driver, and he's come from the back of the grid in race 1 to 12th, from 12th to 3rd in race 2. Hamming, though, still giving it a go. He wants that podium. Can he find a way past? Does Andre push too hard, too early? We'll have to find out as we're soon to go on to 3 laps to go. As Machete rounds the final corner. And, well, I mean, you can see there visually. I mean, they're all on the same straight with Machete, just pulling away lap after lap. Just ever so slightly faster. Reminds me of the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix. Actually had kind of Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. They were so similar in pace, but Vettel just ever so slightly faster, and you could just see him lap after, just edging ever so slightly, I mean, half a tenth further away every lap. That's what Ruben Machete's doing here right now, and that is exactly what he needs to do. He's got 3 laps left until that race 2 victory is his.
Kasper Mikulak now out of the race. He has reversed off the road at the final corner and appears to have called it a day, just as he did in race 1, I'm afraid to say. And that was rather wide there from Darius Andre. Not the best line through. Oh, big twitch for Frank Hamming on the exit of Luffield. And they're both going to lose a bit of time there. Machete actually hasn't been pulling away from Magorki recently. The gap was out to about 3.5 seconds. It's now down to 2.5, but still too little, too late. Frank Hamming through the S's. Andre lost about 8 tenths of a second to Magorki there, and that is going to be tough to gain again. I think the real fight now is between Andre and Hamming over 3rd position in this race, because Magorki is looking a lot safer than he was before.
Absolutely on board with Hamming, still on the back of Darius Andre. Can he make the move up here? The HGP driver doing everything he can further back. Matej Sabinski to the outside of Patterson through Stowe, trying to switch back through Stowe. That's not something you see very often. He's still sticking with him. Has to go the long way round into Vale. But of course, Patterson's entry will be compromised. And he's got a big run once again, Zabinski, but he's going to have to try and stay behind until turn 3. You can't really pull off a move into Abbey. He's going to give it a go anyway. No, he backs off, pulls back behind. He will be landing up into turn 3, if not turn 4. I mean, these two are side by side. A move has got to come surely. Oh, my goodness me, almost touching. Zabinski had to flick away at the last minute to avoid an accident, but it's worked out well because Patterson's run wide. Zabinski sweeps on the outside and they make contact. And Matej Zabinski goes round after clipping Craig Patterson. And what could have been 7th becomes 9th. But Patterson, wow, what a show of sportsmanship for Craig Patterson. Lets him back through and sacrifices P7 as well. That is commendable. Great sportsmanship there from Craig Patterson. Sacrificing 2 places to let back Zabinski through. Brilliant from him.
We're going to get a replay of that in a little bit. But anyway, keep watching as they spark through the Maggots Beckett's Chapel sequence. I love how much more sparky our Factor 2 has got recently. We had sparks before, but they didn't look hugely realistic. The game improving slightly in its visual
looking very
aspect
pretty,
there.
Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And looking rather realistic too, because these cars would be sparking along the ground. They run so low. And here we see a replay of what just happened. This is Frank Hamming, actually, that we're currently watching. You see the Jordan livery. Craig Patterson, sorry, running down in P9. And apparently we're watching the wrong replay. Never mind. That's okay. That's okay. Szymon, our cameraman, just trying to find us what he was going to show us. In the meantime, we are on to the last lap of the race. Ruben Machete leads by 2.6 seconds over Owen McGorgy. And Maciej Heiler has just had an incident, I think. Heiler, I think, has just spun out of Stowe. Lost some time in that one. Look in the background, sorry, that's the P3 fight. Andre going defensive from Hamming. And that may be Hamming's last opportunity, unless he can line it up towards the Hangar Straight, because that really will be his last opportunity. I think it might be over from Hamming, but he's given it a valiant effort. Look how close he is towards Copstow, Russ.
Yep, drawing ever closer. This will be brave, and it's crunch time for Frank Hamming. Looking to the inside, no, has to decide against it. Stowe could be the last opportunity. Oh, no, he's round! That's Hamming! Goes round on the exit of Cop's corner. And that means that Darius Andre can cruise home to P3. What a shame, Frank Hamming just giving it a bit too much. And he's dropped down to P5 as well as a result. What a shame for Frank Hamming. Oh, that's a big shame. But this man, what a performance it's been in race 2 from the reverse grid pole. Ruben Machete has been absolutely dominant out there, just quicker than anyone else in this race. Rounding the final section, he'll take the sprint race, he'll take race 2, he'll take the win. It's Ruben Machete with a fantastic performance. He wins here in Silverstone. What a brilliant way to go into the halfway point and the season. McGorgy comes home in second and extends his championship lead with Darius Andre in P3. Damien Kardash locks into P4. That's Frank Hamming. Manages to hold on for P5 in the end. Unfortunate for him, but Machete, a great result for him.
Absolutely wonderful stuff from Ruben Machete there. There's Mateusz Jubinski, P8. Kardash claimed P4 on the last lap after Frank Hamming's spin, and that was a good drive from Kardash because don't forget, he started from P13 on the grid as Menno Klont, Vincent Gutt, and Maciej Heiler, who lost 11th or 12th position rather late. Erkan and Remco de Joux will claim the final point in 15th position, and the drivers who missed out on points in the end were Stavros Muzeidis, Alexander Ragosa, and we'll see the full order soon. There you see the Novas donutting in the runoff area. Both of those, or at least Owen McGorgy, has a real claim to be driver of the day here today. He was, oh, look at that. He was 4th in race 1, and then 2nd in race 2, avoided the carnage. Machete, of course, also has a claim to that because he led every single lap of race 2, although did lose a bit of time in a crucial part of race 1. Darius Andre has a real claim to that, climbing up 10 positions in the first race, and then, or 13 positions in the first race, and then another 9 in race 2. Ross, who would you give the driver of the day to after that?
Well, just from where he came from, it's got to be Darius Andre. I mean, we've seen several great performances here and there, as there's a bit of a drift going on. I mean, there's a few drivers who were phenomenal in race 1, then got caught up in incidents in race 2. A few drivers who, were a bit absent in one of the races, then brilliant in the other one. Throughout, Andre was brilliant, and of course, coming from the back of the grid as well, up to P12 in race 1, up to P3 in race 2. It really can't be anyone else for me. What a weekend he's had. And, had he have bothered qualifying and or not had a back of grid penalty, well, who knows what could have been.
I agree. Shout out to Jake Dennehan as well. He did not cause the accident at the start of race 2. And without that, who knows what he could have done, because he was very good in race 1. Same goes for Tom Stevens. Muscat too, to an extent, although the spin that happened later was unfortunately his own mistake. There you see the rest of the order. Muzeidis 16th, Ragosa 17th, then Stevens, Muscat, and then all of the DNFs. And we are going to speak to our race 2 winner now. Ruben Machete has won a Formula Sprint 1 race. Ruben, fantastic stuff.
Thank you very much, mate.
So Ruben, coming from eighth coming from eighth in race 1, getting the reverse grid pole and leading every single lap of race 2. You made it look almost easy there.
Well, today was difficult. Not so difficult in the way that drivers were not fighting good, but Owen was pushing me all the ways. My tires were pretty dead in the end, so I was happy to add the gap from 3 seconds. But yeah, as a reserve driver, I can't be happier. I think I hate the pace all weekend, so I think I just can be very happy, and yeah.
Reuven, you are doing absolutely everything right now. You've done the last 6 rounds of the career ladder full stop, not even including just FS1 or FS2 rounds. How are you managing to fit all of this in, all of this practice, this getting used to different cars, and you're still so good that you're leading FS2?
Well, for me, it's a good point that I'm very young, so I could adapt more quickly to the car. And, well, my practice was yesterday and today, so yeah. I don't know what to say. This is just unbelievable.
And this is your first win at this level. How does this compare to your other sim racing victories?
Well, the first victory feels always amazing in any series. So I think maybe in 2 days or tomorrow I would take the win and say it's more like the FS2 win. But yeah, this is a so strong field also. So with Tom, Owen, Jake, Darius, and all, this is so different league, I would say.
It's almost going to be a shame when you use up all of your race meetings in higher categories and have to go back to FS2 full time. But anyway, I presume that's still where your focus is lying, correct?
Sorry?
FS2, you're still aiming to do all the rounds there and win the championship, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, good luck to you with that. Russ, do you have anything
Thank
to
you.
add for our race 2 winner?
No, just congratulations, Reuven. It was a really, really fantastic performance. Very calm, very composed, and very excited to see what you can do in the future.
Thank you very much, mate.
Congrats, Reuven. Thank you for speaking to us.
No problem. See you.
Okie dokie. I would like to speak to our race 1 winner at some point, although unfortunately Darius Andre is not in the broadcast room just yet. So we'll have to speak to our race 1 position 2 first. Russ, since I started with Reuven, I'll let you start with Tom.
Go on then. First of all, Tom, hello. Can you hear us?
Hello, yes.
Awesome, great stuff. Well, first of all, P2 in race 1, pretty good result. I mean, it was a pretty dominant pole position, but P2, still a solid result. Are you happy with that one?
Yeah, overall, I'm really, really happy to be back on pole because over the last few rounds, I've not quite been there in qualifying in race 1. So just to see myself that I can be at the front in the first race again, that's really motivating. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite convert that into a win, but Jake did a fantastic job. And the funny thing about that race is on the race start, I didn't realise that from where my grid spot was, I couldn't see the lights. So I was literally listening to Toby, my engineer, counting down when the lights were going out, and luckily the start was good. But
yeah, that's not ideal. Well, still, to get to P2 after not being able to see the lights, pretty impressive. Well done. However, race 2 probably didn't quite go to plan. I think it's safe to say. What actually happened? It was all pretty chaotic on the first lap because there was like 20 billion different incidents. What happened with your one?
Well, I just wanted a clean start, really. So the first few corners were all right. And then approaching Brooklands, there was a bit of a spin, managed to avoid that. But then coming into Luffield, from what I remember, there was just cars everywhere. And I did slow down and then unfortunately ended up losing my wing. But yeah, these things happen. I have to watch it back and see if there's a way it could be avoided. But these things happen in the championship, and we're only halfway in, so there's still plenty of races to make back the loss.
There absolutely is, and I mean, we've been seeing you've been starting to kind of stake your claim in the championship, and I believe after race one you were actually leading the championship. Obviously, then unfortunately lost that again. But are you now confident, that you see yourself as a title challenger? You can keep this momentum going forward.
Well, obviously the championship, I would like to get it, but you still got to play it race by race. And at the minute, I'm just trying to make sure I can be there in qualifying and race one, because it's ever so important to bag those points in the first race and then keep your nose clean in the second. So that'll be the goal from Austria onwards, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, good luck to you. Thank you very much for talking to us, Tom. And you did a good job bearing when you couldn't see the lights and what was all going on. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, congrats, Tom. I have a good life hack actually for when you can't see the lights. If you scroll through the HUD display until you see the bit that says time left, the time left will appear like the second that the lights go out. So if you release the clutch then, you will get a good start. That's one of my sneaky little tricks there. Anyway, who should we bring in next? Who else had a podium here? McGorgy had a podium, didn't he? P2 in race 2. Owen, are you here?
I am here.
Great stuff. P2 in race 2. Good stuff there towards the end.
Yeah, it was very, very difficult with the tyres. I didn't think that my front left would die so much in race 2. It was all right in race 1. I finished on about 48. But race 2, I absolutely killed the front left. And yeah, pushing a lot, trying to catch Reuven and making a couple of mistakes. But yeah, P2's pretty good to come out of that, considering I had to avoid like about 100 incidents on that one.
Yes, goodness. Well, they all involved your championship rivals there. Does that how does that feel when you see that? Are you relieved to have a buffer, a comfort margin after this round? Or were you like, all my competition?
I was very happy to see it. I didn't know that Tom was in all of it until about lap 3 or 4 when I asked my race engineer Josh. But yeah, after finding that out, it was pretty good, and just trying to not make too many mistakes, because I knew that I would gain a lot of points, especially after race 1 where I lost a few, and I think it was 1 point between us in the championship after race 1.
Yeah, a beautiful livery today as well. Whose idea was that?
I think that was just an idea between all of us at Nova and maybe TOP as well. It came to our minds probably at the start of the year, and just because every time at Silverstone, Nova were in a special livery, and yeah, it's a lovely livery. I do really like it. The only one for Nova that I haven't made this year. There might be a special one at the end of the year as well.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing that. Congrats on your podium today, and yeah, you are well and truly the championship leader now.
Cheers.
Okay, so that was Owen McGorgy. Szymon, who would you like to speak to last? Yes, we should preferably keep this one relatively quick, but I'll let you take your pick. If you're there, Russ.
You said Szymon. I got a bit confused. Sorry.
Did I say Szymon?
You did say Szymon. Yeah, you're asking the cameraman to make choice. I mean, he can if he wants to. Let's talk to Josh Downard. Why not? Let's drag Josh Downard into the com box, because why not? Let's shake it up a bit. Josh, can you hear us?
Hello. Yes, I can.
Hello. First of all, thank you for keeping us posted in the YouTube chat. Very helpful. Yeah, bit of an interesting couple of races there.
Yeah, it was just sort of the tyro was so sort of tough to deal with, so we were just sort of going with what we had and seeing what we could get out of it. Race 2, we got a little bit lucky with all those crashes at the start, and then Reuven was really good, so Owen couldn't really catch him, but good points overall, and Owen obviously extended the gap quite a lot in the championship, so
yeah, absolutely.
Happy with that.
Yeah, so a good weekend for the team once again, and I guess that's your plan going forward. Is it just keep racking up the points, keep racking up the good results, and just keep it moving?
Yeah, I mean, Owen's been just really good all season with that sort of thing. Top 6 finish in every single race. So obviously it's been a little bit of luck that he's, or more not getting caught up in the unlucky incidents that's sort of helped with that. So we'll see how long that can carry on for. But yeah, doing well, and then Craig as well, getting in the solid points today. So yeah, just see where we can go.
Well, best of luck to you. Thank you very much for joining us, Josh. And yeah, well, good luck for the future. Good races out there today.
Cool. Thank you very much.
And thanks for bringing us that beautiful Jordan livery too.
Yeah, I sort of accidentally made it a tradition now where I think I have to do that every year at Silverstone, the British liveries, but they look good. So
I approve of that tradition. I love to see classic F1 liveries out on track, and long may it continue. Okay, thank you, Josh. Right, that is all we have time for today. Apologies to the people we didn't get time to interview, but after all, the show must end eventually, and what a show it's been. Race 1 in particular is going to live in my mind for a bit. That was very close between Jake Dennehan and Tom Stevens, and those two are going to be fighting for years to come. I've been Caitlin Penny. Your broadcast director has been Szymon Frelik, and alongside me has been Ross McIntyre. In 1 week, we will have the Super League race from Great Britain, the main Grand Prix. And then in 2 weeks, we will have the FS1 round of the Austrian round. That will be at the Red Bull Ring. Okie dokie. Until then, see you later.